Going back a few years, I thought I was busy. I was working long hours as a lawyer, training almost every day, whilst doing my best to keep up with friends and family. But the thing was that I always felt like I was chasing the clock. Until I realised something, which is that my calendar really wasn't the problem. My focus was. And I was really just spending way too much time on things that didn't matter and not utilising the time that I did have. But once I fixed that, everything changed, and now I'm able to do all of those things I mentioned and spend 10 plus hours a week on this YouTube channel while still having time left over. And so in this video, I wanted to show you how to do the same no matter how packed your calendar may be. Okay, so point number one is around Parkinson's law. And when I first found out about this was like such an aha moment for me that really did make complete sense. But Parkinson's law is essentially that you will stretch out the completion of tasks until they have filled the time available for that task. So in other words, if you've got like some sort of project that you want to do and you've allocated 20 hours to complete it, the chances are it probably is going to take you those 20 hours, even if in reality you probably could have completed that task within like 10 hours, say. And this was just so clear to me from my own life. Like if I had some task with some pretty long deadline or didn't really have any deadline to complete the task, it would probably just take me a really long time to do and way longer than it probably should have. Where if I had like the same task to do, but a really short deadline to do it, the chances are I'd still, work really hard or more efficiently and get that same project done within that much tighter, more condensed deadline. And a recent example from my own life is this YouTube channel. So for the majority of time that I've been uploading to this channel, my target has always just been to do one video upload a week. And I kind of found that difficult to do at times. But over the last few weeks or so, I said to myself, I'm gonna really just try and do 3 video uploads a week. And when I thought about doing that, at first it kind of seemed like that's gonna be pretty impossible for me to do. Like one's been challenging enough. How the hell am I gonna now be able to almost triple that workload and do 3? But sure enough, over the last few weeks, I have been able to do it. And it's because I have just been more focused and more efficient with what I'm doing. And just having that more challenging deadline and challenging constraint, it's actually just focused my mind and allowed me to get way more done within kind of the exact same period of time. And so the takeaway here is to really almost, no matter what you're doing, try to set some deadlines for yourself so that you do have a focus to work towards. And actually, in reality, probably make those deadlines a lot shorter than you might have initially thought. Because 9 times out of 10, you will be able to meet whatever deadline is set, and it probably will just focus your mind to meeting that tighter deadline, and therefore also save you more time in the process. Point number 2 is to cut things out that you waste time on. And here, you need to be a little bit honest with yourself and really just try to reflect on your life and reflect on what you do and try to just identify what you think you do waste time on, or really that just takes away time from you unnecessarily. And some of these things, they might be a little bit different for everyone, but I can mention the 3 main things that I've tried to cut out of my life, or at least cut out as much as possible. And I do think these are probably 3 things that do apply to most people. So number 1 is television. And yes, TV, it can be entertaining to watch and it can be nice just to kind of sit down and relax and watch some TV at times. But particularly if you are trying to get a lot of things done, it really can just be a massive drain on your time. And a quick Google search has said to me that in the UK, the average person spends 4 hours and 31 minutes each day on television. And I've got no idea how accurate that is. But if that is even remotely accurate, that is a crazy amount of time, because that would come out at spending over 28 hours a week. And if that is true, if all we do is just cut that out, I mean, we could almost stop the video right there, stop having to look into any other productivity or time management type tips, because if you could save 28 hours a week by just cutting television out, I mean, that is a crazy amount of time to save. Even if it's not even 28 hours, even if it's half of that, 14 hours, a quarter, 7 hours, you can just save so much time by cutting out television or cutting the amount of television you watch down massively. The second thing is social media. And here I would just recommend you go to your phone, go to your usage, and you can see how much time you are spending on social media. And again, if it is coming out at like 2, 3, 4 hours a day, that's way too much time. And you should just cut the amount of time you're going on social media down. And the third thing is the news, because I think some people become quite obsessed with like checking the news every day. Like they'll spend half an hour, maybe even longer every day just reading the same sort of news headlines over and over and over. And in reality, I think it's just an unnecessary amount of time. And yes, it's important to stay up to date with the news and have an understanding of what's going on in the world, but I think you can get that from literally spending like half an hour once a week. I mean, you'll probably get the main headlines for that week. And so I would just try to be a little bit mindful about how much time you're spending reading or watching the news and try to cut it down. Point number 3 is to treat work like a cinema. And so what do I mean here? Well, when we go to the cinema, before we actually sit down to watch the movie, we kind of prepare ourselves for the fact that we will be sat down for the next 2 to 3 hours, and we try to do things to make sure that we can just be immersed in the cinema. And so this might look like going to the toilet before you actually go into the cinema, so you don't need to come out halfway through the movie. Maybe you'll get some snacks for yourself, maybe get some popcorn or some sweets. Unless you're a really annoying person who goes on their phone whilst they're in the cinema, you're probably going to think to yourself, I'm not going to go on my phone, and so maybe I'll check my phone before I go in or send any text messages that I need to. And essentially, we just try to do everything we can so that when we can just sit down in our seat at the cinema and be into the film. And so I think we should just try to treat work similarly, in the sense that before we go to sit down, we should just try to do everything we can to basically then be as engrossed and focused in the work at hand. And so we should just try to prepare ourselves as best as possible, because there really is a massive difference between sitting down and being ready to go and being focused compared with like sitting down and being a little bit distracted and realizing, oh, maybe you need to go and do something else halfway through. Because if you are focused and you really are into your work, you will be so much more productive and more efficient, and you will get through that work better, probably at a higher quality of work, and you will also then save time in the process. So in practice for me, this means kind of doing similar things to what I said with the cinema. It will be like, I'll try to go to the toilet before I'm gonna sit down to do like an hour or two of really deep work. I will maybe think to myself, like, am I hungry? Like, do I wanna eat before? Or like bring a snack into work with me? Do I want some, caffeine to get a little bit of extra energy going? Often I will not even bring my phone into the room with me as well, as I don't want that sort of distraction. And so I just try to do those things to then, when I sit down, get in that mindset to be ready to go and work. And honestly, this really has made a massive difference to my workflow and has saved me a lot of time from doing this. Point number 4 is to design your environment to work for you. And here, like, one of the most important things that I think I've learned about time saving is to try to remove the friction that makes tasks a lot harder than they need to be. And friction here, it can be kind of anything. Like, it can just be like a really minor inconvenience. Like maybe you suddenly realize you need something small before you can actually start the work that you want to do. But it's these bits of friction and these minor inconvenience that can really just slow you down from actually starting something, or just make it way harder to finish. And so the key is to really just try to identify what any of these small barriers might be for you, depending on what you're trying to do, and then try to remove them as best as possible. And this principle, it can apply to almost anything. Like, maybe you want to exercise first thing in the morning, but you always find it a little bit hard to get going. Well, maybe you should just like put all your gym clothes out the night before, so that when you get up, they're ready to go and it's just easier for you to get them on and get out the door. Or maybe you just actually find it difficult to sort of know like what exactly you should be doing or what order to do things in. Well, maybe in that instance, maybe you should really like time block what you want to do. And so you have a real clear path as to what you're doing, and it will just remove that like decision fatigue for you in terms of coming up with what you want to do. And point number 5 is a simple one, but it is to look after yourself. And so what I mean here is to make sure that you are prioritizing what I think should really be like the non-negotiables in your life. And so that means making sure to prioritize sleep, making sure you are eating healthily, exercising regularly, and trying to minimize stress levels as best as possible. Because the reality here is, if you are doing all those things, then you are more likely to feel good, to feel energized, to feel productive, and you will just be in a better mind frame to get things done, and you'll be able to do things at a better quality level and more efficiently, and you will again just save so much time in the process. So there you go, 5 tips to really utilize the time that you definitely do have. I hope you found that useful. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.